All right, everyone. So we've got another video from MathWiz. This one talking about why do people hate Boruto. Now, here's the thing. First of all, if you see right there, this video was posted back in 2017. So I don't know if he's changed his mind since then. I don't know. Uh, Also, look, if you follow my channel, you already know how I feel about this character. It really shouldn't surprise you that I am just not a fan of Boruto as a character. I don't think he's as bad as he used to be. He's definitely better, but overall, I'm just not a fan of the character. I don't. So I'm curious to see this video and discuss it with you guys and what MathWiz is going to say here in this video. Let's go ahead and watch it. And as always, guys, links in the description, and consider, liking, sharing, subscribing, all that stuff YouTube loves, and commenting, of course.
Boruto, the character, gets a lot of unfair criticism.
Oh yeah, I guess spoilers for the series.
The comments on my previous Boruto video clued me into an interesting phenomenon surrounding this character, that being the backlash he receives from fans due to his relationship with Naruto. In the big picture, Boruto is too harsh on Naruto, and because fans of the franchise experienced Naruto's journey and the hardships he went through to become Hokage, some are quick to write off Boruto as an immature brat. That's not an unreasonable stance to have.
Because he is,
watching someone else
or was.
Incorrect assumptions about a person you admire based on limited information is aggravating, which is why that habit is generally applied to villains, not heroes. My problem with this backlash is that Boruto's perspective is completely brushed aside. Before I examine Boruto's daddy issues though, let's examine Naruto's. Think back to when Naruto first met his father. When he found out that Minato was responsible for sealing the nine-tailed fox inside of him, Naruto punched his dad in the stomach. It's because of Minato that Naruto was ostracized by the entire village and targeted by the Akatsuki. Minato had his own reasons for acting as he did, but Naruto's side of the story carries a stronger impact, since we were exposed to his suffering firsthand. You could argue that Minato's actions were unjustified due to the struggles they created for Naruto, but it's not like Minato had ample time or options to work with. You could also argue that Naruto wouldn't have developed the burning desire to become Hokage if it wasn't for the way he was cast out by society. In any case, this Naruto wasn't there to experience the event.
Well, the thing I'll say about Minato is I wouldn't say his actions were unjustified. They were justified. He gave it to Naruto as a gift, and also because he believed that Naruto would one day grow up to become someone who could tame the power of the Nine Tails and use it to help people, as opposed to what other people were doing, like Obito, and then earlier we had Madara, who used it to try to destroy the village. And he believed that Naruto would actually, like I said, use it to protect the village, which he eventually did do against, Momoshiki, and then later Kurama, of course, sacrifices his life to protect not just Konoha, but the whole world. So, yeah, I mean, again, yes, a lot of people could criticize Minato because he gave his son a lot of grief growing up because of having the Nine Tails sealed inside of him, but you understood why he did that. So I wouldn't say it's unjustified, if I'm being honest.
Or options to work with. You could also argue that Naruto wouldn't have developed the burning desire to become Hokage if it wasn't for the way he was cast out by society. In any case, this Naruto wasn't there to experience the event. His only tangible connection to it was the suffering he had to endure. So when Minato revealed the truth, Naruto's emotions overpowered his composure. This scene is especially interesting when you consider that Minato's past actions were done with good intentions. He was Konoha's leader. He had responsibilities whose magnitude far outweighed the needs of his family. Putting blood relations first would be irresponsible of the Hokage.
Exactly, he was the Hokage.
Because all of Konoha is family. To criticize the sacrifices Minato made would be ignorant, but to ignore the negative implications of those sacrifices would be short-sighted. At the end of the day, however, this is Naruto's story. Minato is just a side character, so of course he won't share the same level of pathos as the guy we've spent hundreds of episodes with. Boruto suffers from the same problem, except this time, he is the protagonist. Because his story carries leftover Naruto baggage, however, it's much more difficult to treat him like the star. We've already experienced Naruto's malice towards his father, though, And while the weight of this comparison isn't exactly a one-to-one correlation, I think the feeling should be replicated enough to understand why Boruto thinks the way he does. As Crosswind reinforced in his video on the series, Boruto is a child. His worldview is much narrower than the cast we left off with in Shippuden, so it's understandable that he would make rash judgments. Boruto hasn't done what Naruto has. He doesn't know what Naruto knows. He is an ignorant child, and when you're a child, the world revolves around you. This is why Boruto can't view the Hokage as the hero the rest of the village admires. On top of that, while he might know of Naruto's journey, he didn't experience it. Boruto wasn't there for the Shinobi War, or Konoha's destruction, or even the Chunin exams. This is a rare instance in fiction where we know more about the protagonist's world than he does. And while that adds an extra layer of intrigue to this narrative, it also creates a problem for Boruto. Interpretations of his story will ultimately be influenced by what came before it, and that disrupts the typical role of the protagonist. From a narrative standpoint, Boruto is a blank slate, but because this is a spin-off and not an original title, the primary audience is not. This creates the disconnect I mentioned earlier, because those dedicated viewers have a legitimate reason to side against Boruto based on context within the universe itself. There's also the meta-narrative that comes attached to a long-running shonen. The original manga began serialization in 1999. The anime followed suit in 2002. People grew up with this series, and for many Western viewers, this was their introduction to anime. They empathized with Naruto when he was a young boy around their age, and as they grew up, Naruto did too. There aren't many stories that can capture that experience, which only strengthens the connection people feel with the original cast, and further perpetuates this disconnect with Boruto.
You know, honestly, this was something that I never understood why he did. Like, why would he send a clone and not himself? Why not just leave a clone to do the paperwork? I mean, yeah, this is one thing that I really didn't like about the about how Naruto was portrayed at the beginning, is they made him make decisions that just don't really make a lot of sense when you think about it.
Connection people feel with the original cast, and further perpetuates this disconnect with Boruto. That shouldn't discredit his opinion entirely, though. Boruto is the protagonist of his own life, so to view things from his perspective, forget everything you know about Naruto, if only for the next few minutes. Boruto's father is hardly ever around, leaving his mother to take care of the house and children. He doesn't get many chances to hang out with his father, and he doesn't really know him on a traditional father-son level. What's more is that a majority of his peers expect greatness from him simply for being the son of his important father, as if being in such a position grants him special privileges. Any victory he gets would be diminished because it's expected. Should he ever lose, he would be mocked. In the movie, it's that and the desire to impress his father.
Dude, I hated this. I hated this moment. This thing where he gets caught for cheating, and all of a sudden he tries to flip the blame on Naruto. Like, oh, if only you spend more time with me. If only you were there to teach me. It's like, no, okay? No, kid, you don't get to flip this on him. You yourself should have known that this was not a good idea. You yourself should have known that if you were cheating, eventually you were gonna get caught. You had to at least think about that possibility. And don't come at me with the whole, oh, he was a kid, you know, kids don't think irrationally and all that. No, okay? I don't buy that, not here. I hated this moment. I hated that they're still trying to make Naruto out to be the bad guy, even though he's not actually doing anything wrong. Now, the whole thing about him not spending a lot of time with his family, yes, I will concede that, yes, that is wrong, but my question is, why did the writers even write him that way in the first place? Like, that was my biggest issue with how Naruto was being portrayed at the beginning, which is that you would think that, again, someone who knows how painful it is not to have your family there, you know, when you walk home, you don't have someone there to greet you, he would make sure that Boruto had that growing up. And instead, no, like, again, how they portray Naruto at the beginning of the story, I absolutely fucking hate.
Desire to impress his father that motivate him to cheat during the Chunin exams. People expect the Hokage's son to impress. Naruto expects to be impressed. This is the first time
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily he expects to be impressed. I mean, I don't think he would have. I mean, if we're talking about it from Boruto's perspective, I can kind of understand that. But Naruto, I don't think he would have like really put that much pressure on his kid.
Time that his father will be watching him fight, so losing isn't an option for Boruto. Can these problems be considered trivial compared to Naruto's? Absolutely, but that doesn't invalidate them as legitimate issues. Some people may be quick to gloss over this because of how naturally gifted Boruto is. In Swag Kage's least favorite Naruto characters video, he criticized Boruto not just for seeming like an overpowered OC, but for being completely useless in spite of his abilities. While I can understand those sentiments, the movie adds some crucial context to Boruto's incompetence. Both Naruto and Sasuke take note of how Boruto's clothes always look brand new. This detail subtly implies that Boruto isn't a hard worker like his father. Sarada furthers this notion when, after Boruto pushed himself to learn the Rasengan, she tells Sasuke that Boruto isn't usually like this. In other words, Boruto takes his talent for granted, but if he's given a strong motivation to do so, not only will he train, but he will devote himself to that training with a
Just gotta lower the volume, but there's music.
Passion rivaling that of his father. Unfortunately, he doesn't develop that desire until right before the Chunin exams. So while he might possess the potential, he doesn't possess the skill. Talent alone isn't enough. You have to know how to use it. Because Boruto isn't always testing himself, he lacks experience. So when his opponents start to overwhelm him with their skill, he panics and cheats. This undercuts his personal growth and makes his father's praise feel hollow. Boruto shows remorse after his actions in the second round, but he can't bring himself to confess after he sees how proud Naruto is. He might act like he hates his father, but in reality, Boruto is an insecure child who wants to be acknowledged and respected. His desire to please his father exceeds his desire to fight fairly. And while that may not be the most moral approach, it's a very human approach. And that's why I find his character so compelling. Special thanks to King Kevin 30,
Yeah, I think it was at the end of the video.
Micah Dunn, Stone Cold 0007, India Charbano, Double One, and all of my other patrons for supporting what I do here. If you're interested in hearing more of my thoughts on Boruto, check out this video about why I believe Boruto is the perfect protagonist for a Naruto sequel. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at MathWiz97x if you're interested, and until next time, keep on YouTubing.
Okay, I think that's the end of the video. Yeah, anyway, okay, so yeah. Here's the thing. While I am still not a fan of the character, I will admit that his reasons for, acting the way he did are understandable when you think about it, when you try to think about things from his perspective. Now, that doesn't mean the criticisms are wrong, because Boruto was a brat. He kept whining every single chance he got. And no, people didn't like the fact that he was immediately just, talented right off the bat. It was just, because one thing that a lot of people really liked about the Naruto series, that he was someone who wasn't talented, who was kind of surrounded by people who did have talent. He was surrounded by people like Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, and just multiple other people, Neji, who just had a knack for being a shinobi and learning shinobi, skills, ninjutsu, taijutsu, and all that stuff. And he was the only one who was, he was a lot slower to learn all these things. That's why he had to work a lot harder. And to start off a sequel series with someone who is the complete opposite of that, someone who has all the talent, and now something happened in the latest chapter, which I'm not going to spoil for anyone who hasn't read it, I know this series kind of spoiled at least a lot for the movie, but I'm not going to spoil the manga for anyone watching this video who isn't all caught up. But something happened that could possibly give him even more, and he's still really young. And I think a lot of people is just going to turn them off because it's like, okay, you're at this point, what doesn't this kid have? Seriously, what doesn't this kid have as an advantage that going in as an advantage moving forward? At this point, it feels like it's too much too soon, and it's not, it's going to turn a lot of people off. And I know there's been a lot of controversy with the latest chapter of the Boruto manga, which again I won't spoil for anyone watching it, but like I think that was just a mistake. Like they should not have done this. They shouldn't have. They should not have done what they did in my opinion. I don't know if you guys agree with me, and if you do, just don't spoil it in the comment section if you know what I'm talking about. Anyway guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Remember to like, share, subscribe, check the description for links, and I hope to see you for my next video. Bye for now.